to Season 4, Episode 42 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Lucha Underground history with match number 9 on our list, which is the Aztec Warfare match to determine the first ever Lucha Underground champion from the January 7th, 2015 edition of Lucha Underground, titled, of course, Aztec Warfare. So Aztec Warfare is probably the most well-known gimmick match out of all of the gimmick matches that, Lucha Underground would do. It's basically a Royal Rumble with 20 competitors, but with its own unique little twist on it that eliminations occur not by going over the top rope with both feet touching the floor, but they occur via pinfall or submission to eliminate a competitor. Which is incredibly smart because Lucha Underground at its core is a lucha promotion. Obviously, Lucha Libre is known for dives and things like that. So by putting that rule on there that, falls occur by pinfall or submission, it allows the high-flying action, it allows the crazy brawling, it allows the dives and everything that you really watch Lucha Underground for. So very good twist on the rules. Now, when this match happened, it was about 10 episodes deep into Lucha Underground, and I remember, I'd liked some matches here and there. I'd liked the overall presentation of Lucha Underground, but it really hadn't caught on to me. At this point, I was still expecting it to be another Wrestling Society X, Lucha Libre USA, failed new wrestling promotion. But this was the match where it all really clicked, and it felt like maybe this promotion knows what it's doing, and maybe there's something to this, because it took all of these little pieces, all of these storylines and things like that, that, had happened through the first 10 episodes of the series, and it put it all together for this great payoff where, new rivalries came out of it. We had nods to previous matches. We had, dream matches in the scope of Lucha Underground. It was all really well done, and I feel that the Royal Rumble, and maybe this is, arrogant for me to say, given that, I'm not a professional wrestling booker, but I feel like the Royal Rumble is probably the easiest match to put together to have it be successful, because you have so many moving parts and you have so many little segments that you can book it based upon these segments. You have, the anticipation and the crowd pop for every entrance. You can do these standoffs and, do these nods to the past and, gauge, what your fan base is going to want going forward based on how they react to different wrestlers facing off. It's such a good tool. It's something that, the WWE's always had at its disposal, obviously. Some years working far better than other years. But I love the Royal Rumble. It's something that I always look forward to. And in Lucha Underground, Aztec Warfare would become something that I would look forward to as well. So this was the first one to determine the first champion. Great way to determine, who's going to be your first champion. And we kick it off with 1 and 2. So number 1 in this match was Phoenix. We got a very early version of Dario Cueto's unique opportunities where Phoenix and Mil Muertes both won multi-person matches, would end up squaring off with the winner getting the number 20 spot, which would be Mil Muertes, and the loser taking the number 1 spot, which would be Phoenix. This immediately put Phoenix in that underdog, baby face fire role that he would have, through the first 3 seasons of Lucha Underground prior to his heel turn in season 4. Number 2 was Johnny Mundo, which was clever too because Mundo and Dario Cueto had a bit of a beef going on there, which involved, Johnny Mundo knocking out Dario Cueto to retrieve his briefcase full of money. Was it a random drawing that he was number 2? We'll never know, but again, kind of clever. And it led to a great opening between these two incredibly gifted athletic wrestlers. Number 3 to come into this match was Mr. Cisco, a member of the crew, who were also kind of feuding with Johnny Mundo at this point and loosely affiliated with Dario Cueto. So again, a great number 3, and he was immediately double teamed and taken out, for a quick elimination, keeping this one-on-one singles match between Phoenix and Mundo. So again, really clever, showed, quickly established the rules with the pinfall or submissions for the eliminations, show that these falls can come at any time, and again, shows that, guys can kind of team up, faces can team up to try to get rid of these heels. So really smart. Lucha Underground does a really good job with their commercial placement. Matches are very rarely interrupted by a commercial, And when they are, they're normally long form matches like this where you have these different segments that create for natural breaks for a commercial. And the great thing is, because it's a taped show, it's a heavily edited show, you don't miss anything on the commercial break. So they might go to a commercial, you know, when a wrestler's making his entrance, and even though your commercial break's 2.5 minutes, when they come back, that wrestler is still making his entrance, right? So it's great viewing experience. If you're watching these online with the commercials cut, you know, it's very seamless. So we get just really great little nods throughout here, like I said. So the fourth competitor of the match is King Cuerno. So he comes in, and Mundo and Phoenix immediately try to start double teaming him like they were just able to do on Mr. Cisco, but he's able to avoid it. It leads to some miscommunication. And then we get our first big dive sequence of the match where he hits his big, beautiful tope. Phoenix gets like a rope walk somersault. Son of Havoc makes his entrance as competitor number 5 and hits a bunch of crazy offense and then a Sasuke special. And they do a really great job with some of your wrestlers that are a little bit more gimmicky. Everybody gets a chance to kind of spotlight, you know, what they're good at. So Pimpinelli Escalera comes in and kisses everybody, right? Because that's, you know, their gimmick. Prince Puma ends up coming in at number 7, and they do such a good job with him and Johnny Mundo throughout this match. So they were the first main event in Lucha Underground history. They were kind of that initial feud that helped put the promotion on the map. So when Puma comes in, they square off. They get a nice little extended sequence with each other. King Cuerno and Drago were, you know, in a feud at the point. So after we get a bunch of eliminations, you know, Drago and Cuerno kind of brawl, you know, outside of the frame, right? So you kind of forget about them. We get the other 2 members of the crew, Cortez Castro and Bael. And then we get basically a nice extended tag match between Mundo and Puma and the crew. Again, guys that they've been feuding with. And it leads to a great double fall where they, you know, each of the baby faces pin, you know, one of the heels at the same time simultaneously. And that segues into Big Rick, who's kind of the leader of the crew, right? They're his henchmen. He comes in and he's all fired up that his guys are out, and he just proceeds to destroy everyone. And they do a really good job with Big Rick of, you know, putting him over and making him look like a force. Chavo Guerrero, who was a big staple of early Lucha Underground, one of the top heels, you know, leading into Aztec Warfare #1. He had a steel chair that he was lying, you know, people out with left, right, and center, you know, throughout the early run of the show. So he comes out with his steel chair and he gets 2 big eliminations with chair shots right off the hop, eliminating Superfly, as well as eliminating Pentagon Jr., which, watching this back now, is a little bit funny because Pentagon would obviously become really the face of Lucha Underground, the face of the promotion. But early on, they didn't really know what they had with him yet. He had just debuted, was kind of just another, you know, luchador that they had brought in from AAA. So to see him kind of go out very quickly to a Chavo Guerrero chair shot was kind of funny in hindsight. We get a fun sequence where Masquerita Dorada, you know, comes in and kind of evades everybody. And, you know, we get the tease of the classic, you know, WWE Royal Rumble standoff where 2 big guys, you know, the irresistible force and the immovable object kind of standoff. But here we get it with Big Rick and Masquerita, which is kind of funny. You know, a little humorous take on that trope that we see in the WWE. They do a fun sequence where Masquerita kind of, you know, dodges everything that Rick has to throw at him, but he eventually just kills him with a big lariat for the elimination. Number 20 is Mil, and this is where we get our real standoff. We get Mil Muertes and Big Rick. You know, which behemoth will come out on top. It's just a tease, though, as all of the other wrestlers in the match jump both of them, which again is very smart. Big Rick basically gets hit with every guy in the match, his finishing move, which puts him out. Chavo sneaks in with his chair again and blasts Phoenix with a chair shot to eliminate him, kind of, you know, pulling out the rug from everybody that thought maybe Phoenix would go coast to coast for the win here. But then we get the big return of Blue Demon Jr. So he was the one that was feuding with Chavo where this whole chair shot gimmick started. So he makes his triumphant return to stop Chavo from using the chair against Sexy Star. Sexy Star, in the very early episodes, they'd kind of put that, you know, she's being mentored by Blue Demon Jr. and has, you know, so much respect for Lucha Libre, which we would eventually find out, you know, with her personal life maybe wasn't necessarily the case. But she ends up hitting Chavo with the chair to eliminate him. So again, great storytelling. They put a nice little bow on that story that they had built through the first 10 episodes. Our final 4, we get Mil Muertes, Sexy Star, Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo. They do a great job where basically they try to repeat what they just did to Big Rick, where all the faces run at Mill, but he's able to fight him off. He just tears Sexy Star apart with a big spear that puts her out for the 3 count. And then we get our final 3. There's a crazy, just under the radar spot here that I don't think I've ever seen before, where Prince Puma's kind of like draped through the ropes toward the floor, and Mill's outside kind of holding him there, and then Johnny Mundo proceeds to hit a pescado over the ropes onto Puma, who's draped through the ropes, and he like crashes on him back first onto the ring apron. It was gnarly, really, really cool spot that I took notice of watching this match back in 2021. We start to get the double teams. You know, Mill valiantly tries to fight both guys off. The babyfaces hit a double superplex on him. Katrina tries to get involved, you know, fearing that her man's on the ropes. She ends up eating Johnny Mundo's springboard and Sagiri when Mill moves. And in all of the chaos, it allows both babyfaces to hit back-to-back springboard 450 splashes on Mill. They both dogpile on him, and it's enough to eliminate him. Again, they did a great job. Mil Muertes obviously would be one of the faces of the company, and season 1 as the champion. So, you know, this was a great way of protecting him in that loss. And then our ending sequence here is super fun. It's the match that, you know, put Lucha Underground on the map, I guess we could say, what being the episode 1 main event. We get Mundo and we get Prince Puma. And they just go, you know, big near falls, great one-on-one sequence, hot crowd. Prince Puma hits a Spanish fly off the top. It's only good for 2. Johnny Mundo hits a super poison Rana and the end of the world. You know, the Starship Pain, whatever you want to call it. That's only good for 2. Mundo is kind of desperate at this point, and eventually this, you know, desperation will kind of lead into his heel turn later on in the season. But he's kind of desperate. You know, Puma's kicked out of his best moves. He's not quite sure what to do. He takes Puma up, goes for one of his signatures that he just hit, the Spanish Fly. But Puma's able to fight him off, throw him to the mat, and hit the 630 splash. It's enough to put Johnny Mundo away. Prince Puma becomes the first ever Lucha Underground champion, surviving Aztec Warfare in his home in Boyle Heights, California. It's a great story. Puma was a great first champion for the company and really, you know, helped generate the buzz that the company would get through season 1 and into season 2. I love this match. It's definitely up there as far as like overall Royal Rumbles are concerned. It was booked in great sequences. You had great moves with all of the dives and the finishing sequence. You had all of these great little stories, these great little moments. It's just really, really well done. And given that it happened on a 1-hour episode of television, it is a fantastic episode of television. You can watch Lucha Underground depending on where you live. You might be able to find this on the Tubi app, but if not, you can Google search, you know, Lucha Underground Aztec Warfare 2015, and you will be able to find this episode, you know, on some sort of a streaming website. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.